if I could it looks like everybody is gathered around table 9. We'll go ahead and get started. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to be videotaping every class because I do have a YouTube channel. So if you actually miss a class, you can actually just tell your friend to go to my website there and figure out what you missed.
Is your website noted on the information computer? Is your website noted somewhere on here?
Well, it's not a website. You just go to YouTube and you just search on my name.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's not real formal.
Got it.
Anyway, I'm Pete Lhotka, and the first thing I want to say is thanks to Barefoot Bob's, thanks to Yavapai College, we've had this class going now for over 2 years. We have a bona fide billiards program. And I do want to introduce a couple of significant people. We've got Richie here. He's going to be helping with the class, but not only that, he is the person in charge of all billiards activities here at Barefoot Bob's. Also taking care of cues, and beyond that, he's also an expert player, so he's going to be assisting as well.
Okay, as Richie?
Yes,
Richie,
yes.
yeah. And then we have Bradley here, who is also an excellent player, and I call him our resident artist because he's so creative. You should see some of the stuff on Facebook that we've seen lately. But he's come up with some very inventive ways to help us with our drills, and he'll be coming around helping you as well. And my name is Pete Lhotka, as you see, and I've been doing this for a long time. I taught pool at Arizona Western College for 18 years before I moved here. My wife and I decided to settle in Prescott, Arizona because we love it so much. And I think this is where we're going to stay. But, you know, mainly today I want to get to know each other. I want to, start the process of learning. Now, when you learn to play pool, there's a curve, okay? Now, a lot of the things we're going to be doing the first 2 or 3 weeks is going to put you up in your head a little bit. You'll have to start thinking about what you're doing. And when you do that, your game tends to fall off until it becomes more automatic. In other words, when you learn proper techniques, you have to drill them and practice them before they become automatic as part of your game. So don't get discouraged, okay? In fact, I have a quote in here. And I start every class with a quote. I like to inspire people. Oh, I see you have a new student. What's your name?
Chris.
Chris.
Christina.
Great. And we'll go around the room to get to know each other a little better. But let me go ahead and read the quote. Let me hand it out there. There you go. In fact, this is one of my favorite books on pool that I think I've ever read. It's called The Pleasure of Small Motions. And the PhD author is named Bob Fancher. He said the sport of pool matters because it brings to your life the pleasures of precision and the joy of the exquisite power of small motions. It matters because it is beautiful. It matters because it's fun. You know, people often ask me, well, what do you really need to have in order to be a good pool player? And probably I would say the most important thing is a passion and love for the sport. And let me tell you a little story to kind of bring that to life. It's a story of a 5-year-old boy, okay? And he ventures up into his parents' attic for the first time. Lo and behold, there's this beautiful lake. And this glorious 9-foot pool table with the bright green felt and all the colored balls on the table. And the little boy is so fascinated. Walks up to the table, sees those balls, and starts rolling around the table, gently watching the beautiful lake. He was hooked. He was hooked. Let's fast forward 60 years later. I'm still hooked. That was me. And my parents did have a 9-foot table, just like that. But the reason why I say that is because I want you to have fun in this class. Okay? That's the main thing. You want to learn, and we're I know a lot of people that get so frustrated with the pool that they get burned out because they can't perform good shots. But that's what we're really going to work on in this class. In this first class, I guess the main thing I want to do is teach you how to hit the ball where you're aiming. Okay? And we're going to work on correct alignment, stance, and how to aim. And one of the most important things about aim is do it while you're standing up above the shot. In other words, what you're seeing, your aim point on the pool table, you want everything else to be coordinated with that. So when you step into the shot, you can fall right directly on that line. And we're going to practice that and work on that today. But before we do that, let's go around the room and make sure we know each other, okay? Just let us know your name, and maybe where you're from, and why you play the game. How's that? Let's start right here with Gail.
I'm Gail Beebe, and I just moved here from Helena, Montana in November. And we always had a pool table for my kids growing up, but I was busy in the kitchen all the time. So, I never played. And so I just thought I need to learn.
All right.
That's awesome.
Sounds good.
I'm Terry Rosenthal. I moved here from Colorado February, and actually, moved to Arizona in 1950. So I'm just coming back to Arizona. But Dad was a pool shark. A pool shark, and I owned a bar in Phoenix 35 years ago. Little pool, just a few tables, beer and wine. We used to have tournaments and cribbage, and I miss that. Do it again.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Jan Tyson. I started playing pool to kind of replace having to give up my motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite a transition, but I've always been intrigued, and when I would go to the bars and watch people play, I was so intimidated I would never get up and try to learn.
Oh.
So I had a friend this last year who took pity on me, and she's been playing with me once a week. And at least now I know what to do, kind of. So I'm here to figure the rest of it out.
I saw Bradley smile when you said motorcycle, right? This is Bradley.
I'm Kathy Wright. I've been in Prescott for 9 years now, Prescott area. And I'm retaking the class to get it.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Kathy was a part of, I think, the very first class that we conducted here a couple of years ago. So welcome back.
Awesome. I'm Bradley Borman. Started playing pool when I was 12 and quit for about 30 years, and I love it. And I've got a table at home. And most recently, like Peter said, I started becoming a bit of an artist. So, and some of that relates to pool.
Glad to have you.
That's awesome. My name's Richard Daniels. My friends call me Richie. I've been hooked on pool since I was a teenager. Some guy picked me. He ran the pool home. Said, you could be pretty good because you don't even know what you're doing and you're doing all right. So he taught me from the basics. He taught me a whole bunch of stuff, and I've been hooked on pool ever since. And recently I took over being the manager of the pool here. So I do everything pool here. If you need tips, if you need your stuff cleaned, if you need anything like that, but it can be part of the class and we can help make it happen. I'm glad to be here too.
Oh, excellent. And let's thank Richie. He polished the balls, cleaned the tables.
Yeah, I know.
Did a really good job. Thanks, Richie.
I want it to be a good experience. I mean, it should always be fun. It's got to be fun. And if your stuff's clean and it's all the way it should be, it gives you a sense of how it is.
Hi, I'm Chris. I've lived in Prescott Valley and Dewey for a long time over the years. And when my parents retired, they bought a big house and it had a pool table in it. So we played off and on. And then when I retired, I bought a big house. I didn't mean to. And it has a pool table in it.
Wow.
So I saw this class and I'm like, yeah.
Bring the right Is it a regulation size table?
I didn't even know there was
Oh,
a
okay.
difference. This looks bigger.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's probably 8
Is
foot.
this 9?
This is a 9 foot, but most house tables are usually 8 foot.
Probably 8 feet.
Yeah.
Paul Klein, born and raised in Kansas, moved to Southern California, Glendora, moved up to Redding, Northern California, moved to Salt Lake, Central California, moved here 26 years ago. Glad I'm out of California. And I've always played pool, but it's been so long that I just really need to get my eyesight back.
I'm Diane Borman. Brad is my husband. I love to play pool, and I don't think I'm that bad of a shot, but I am always at the bottom of the list on the league, so something's not right.
I'll replace you.
You need to follow Diane's example because I see her play league and she's always smiling regardless. So.
And she's on the list.
Yeah, she's on the list.
And she doesn't listen to me.
Well, we all know husbands and wives can't teach each other. My wife is a league player too, but when it comes to teaching, you kind of need somebody a little more objective.
Exactly.
Anyway,
And Richie.
Anyway, as we do this, if you have a pool stick in your hand, that might help because there are a few little things I want you to kind of get the feel of. You know, it's kind of like a guy in college that plays on the basketball team. Did you notice they'll carry a basketball to every class? You know, just the idea of getting the feel of a pool cue and learning how to cradle it. Okay? One of the worst things that happens with new players is they want to put the old death grip on the cue and grab onto it hard. Probably one of the most important things, and I like to use the word cradle when you hold the cue. In fact, the 15-time world champion said the amount of pressure that you apply to your pool cue is like a paper cup holding your hand. That kind of gentleness. And the mantra for the day is to hit the cue ball where you're aiming. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to give you 3 specific drills. And today our group lessons will be a little bit longer because we wanted to get to know each other better. But usually we'll do this for like 20-25 minutes. And then we'll break you up into partners and Brad and Richie and I will give you individual help. Now, when we talk about alignment and the correct stance, the first thing I want to emphasize is that you do all of this while you're standing up above the shot. Last thing you want to do is get down on the shot and then start moving your body around. It throws everything off. Can you imagine if you were shooting a gun and you did this? And you want to find the target first and then put the barrel of the gun right on that target. Same thing in pool, exactly. Now again, the grip of the cue, we're going to really focus on stroke next week. But I do want to say that the grip is a very gentle cradling. In other words, if you watch me play, my thumb and this first finger are pretty much all that really applies any pressure at all. In other words, when I swing the cue back, my grip pressure is so light that the cue stick stays level, doesn't it? When I swing it back. See how it stayed level? And see if I'm grabbing on too tight, what happens? It saws up and down. So a gentle grip, cradle, not in the tips of the fingers, but in the meat of the fingers like that. So when you swing it back, the cue stays level and swing it through. And one of the first things, and I was playing with a guy yesterday that loved to slam the balls. Okay? In other words, almost every shot he was using his biceps and his shoulder muscles to hit the ball. Okay? That's not what pool is. Pool is a tension-free sport. The arms, the shoulders, the wrists, everything is relaxed. If you watch a good player play, they almost look completely effortless, almost like poetry in motion. And those are a couple of things I'd like to emphasize on the first day. It's a nice, gentle grip. Now, I'm going to use a little training aid here, just to kind of give you an idea. And I'm going to aim it directly at this pocket. Now, I spared no expense. Everybody gets a coffee stirrer, and you'll notice that there's a red line in the middle, right? Okay, this seems like a kind of a crazy thing to do, but you simply need to know where the pockets are when you're playing pool. Most people aim at the back of the pocket, which is incorrect. The center of the pocket is always the middle of the outer jaw. So no matter what angle I'm shooting an object ball, I'll always aim towards that red line on the outer jaw. But one thing I wanted to point out to you is that if the 7 ball was shot to that red line, look what part of the pocket it's aimed at. Or if I had the 7 ball over here and was shooting this way, look at the part of the pocket it's aimed at. So it's always the middle of the outer jaw.
Can I say something, Pete?
Yeah, go ahead, Richie.
I've been playing really hard for a long time, like 30-something years. I just learned that this morning when he set that up. A lot of times when I'm not paying attention, I'll shoot it into the pocket and it'll bobble. And when he set that little thing up and explained to me what it was, my mind went, that's really important. That's awesome.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I've been playing for over 50 years. And when I learned that, I think it was like 25 or 30 years ago, my game elevated like a ball and a half. Because all of a sudden I started not wobbling or hanging balls anymore because I knew exactly where the center of the pocket was. And that begins with aiming. Now I've also on each table, on this table I have a fancy orange line that follows the track all the way to the center of the pocket down there. Now, on the other tables, you'll notice I have a piece of tape on the floor. Now, the key thing that I want you to learn and practice today, and our mantra is to hit the cue ball where you're aiming. Now, it starts with your vision while you're standing up above the shot. Now, for the rest of your life, on every single shot, there's 2 simple things you need to do. The first thing is to find the aim point. Now I'm shooting the cue ball into the pocket down there, so I'm aiming the cue ball directly at the red line. That's number 1. The second thing that you do on every shot, and I do this on every shot automatically because I've drilled it for so many years. The second thing is you want your target line to draw all the way back to where you're standing. Now you want to be about almost a cue's distance away from the cue ball. You don't want to hug the table too much. Because guess what? I see much better from here than I do from here. Back here I can see the line of the shot all the way to the red line. And it gives me the space to step into the shot and smooth down. From this position, I'm standing up, I see my aim point, the red line. I draw that target line all the way back. There'll be tape over there, but it's the orange line here. But my key is to have my right big toe right on that target. And you notice my body's about at 45 degrees. And this puts me in a position, so guess what? My chin, my cue, and my right big toe are all on that line. Now, that's the way I do it. Everybody's a little different. Some people have different dominant eyes. Some people's physical bodies are a little different, that kind of thing. So it's going to vary. But generally, if you can get your chin, your cue, and your right big toe on the line, all you've got to do is take 1 step forward, swing down, and look, I'm right on the line, perfectly. In other words, I don't have to adjust one way or the other. So that's drill number one. I want you to practice finding the aim point, drawing the target line back, and just practice swinging down until you can swing down right where you're right on the line every time. In fact, if you watch really good players like Johnny Archer and Earl Strickland and those guys, they'll get down, they'll keep getting up and down until they fall perfectly on that target.
That's the way to adjust your stance, in other words.
Yeah.
You get up and you steer off a little bit, then you stand up and readjust.
Exactly. Never get down and be offline and just twist around. You need to stand back up, adjust your feet, swing back down. And Brad and Richie will help you with that. And there's many ways to teach this. Mine is one way, but it'll really help if you discipline yourself enough to know when it's not right. That voice in the back of your head's going to say, no, I'm off. And discipline yourself to stand back up, swing back down. Okay. And you can tell by your warm-up strokes. You notice my warm-up strokes are perfectly between those red lines. Okay. So that's drill number one. I want you to each of you do that like 10, 12 times. Practice getting up and down. But find the aim point, the target line, and you can use your chin, the cue, or your right toe, or a combination of those, whatever works for you. And like I say, we'll help you. Do it about 10 to 12 times and you can swing down and get on that line every time. Okay, drill number one, you don't even hit the ball yet. Okay? Drill number two, and this is in your handout, you're actually going to start actually hitting the ball toward your target. But basically what I want you to do in drill number two is the exact same thing, only we're going to add our warm-up strokes. Now, I have to say something about a pre-shot routine. How many of you are watching the NBA Finals? Maybe not too many of you, or maybe not. Okay. Have you ever seen a free throw shooter like Steph Curry? He's the greatest that ever played. He has the exact same pre-shot routine on every single free throw, doesn't he? And it's locked in to the point where it's really your comfort level. So everybody needs eventually to establish what we call a pre-shot routine, especially when you're under pressure playing waves and things like that, because that's your comfort zone. It's the way you can feel good about the shot. Okay? My pre-shot routine is pretty locked in. If something feels awry, I'll usually maybe get up, walk around the table, and chop my cue and start over. But on the second drill number two, we're going to see the aim point, draw the target line back, left foot forward, swing down, and I'm going to immediately start my warm-up strokes. Now the warm-up strokes are so important. Can you imagine just laying the cue down and shooting? There's no rhythm, there's no... Is that what you do?
I'm terrible at that.
Oh, okay. No, you've got to loosen up. The warm-up strokes are the rehearsal. It would be like dancing with somebody Dancing with the Stars, and you've never danced with them before. You'd be completely out of whack, wouldn't you? In other words, as I swing down and I'm taking my warm-up strokes, I'm basically lasering in my aim, making sure that I'm right on that red line. And when I'm perfectly confident everything's good, I'll stop it and just let it go. And the key thing about letting it go is, you notice I didn't get up today. You want to accelerate the cue through the cue ball and stay down until you hear the ball back to the top. That's a really good discipline. I actually break that rule a lot because I get nervous like everybody else, and sometimes I jump up. I'll admit that. But if you're gonna bet on two players, bet on the person that stays down the longest. All right, let's go through that a few more times just to make sure we've got it. Aim point, target line all the way back, chin, cue, toe. And as you're up above the shot, just, I like to use my cue. Okay? A lot of people, the cue, they kind of just bring in from the side and all that. But to me, it's really kind of dumb not to use this thing. This is an aiming tool, isn't it? Think, you know, how could you not use this tool to help aim? It's like looking through a sight over a gun. So I use my cue as part of my aiming process. I get my eye, chin, everything right over it, swing down, nice warm-up strokes. And notice my eyes are going from the target to the cue ball, target to the cue ball. Because you really need to hit the cue ball in the center. And that's one thing that I want, you know, that we'll look at today. Are you hitting the cue ball in the center? Because if you're putting any left or right English on it, it's going to throw it off. See? So be aware of that too. Swing down, nice warm-up strokes.
You look at the object, when you hit the object ball, you're looking at the center of the pocket as your target, but you're not looking at the ball. You're actually looking at the target, or are you looking at the ball when you hit it?
Actually, if we were shooting an object ball, it would be different, but I'm actually looking at the red line of the balls. And if it was a normal pool shot, it would be the object ball that we look at that. Your eyes have to go back and forth because you need to make sure you're hitting the cue ball accurately. All right, let's get rid of this. We have drill number 3. And again, throughout the class, I want this to be interactive, so just jump in and ask questions anytime. All right? That's great.
Are there any left-handers?
Well, I have a couple of left-handed tables set up. Are there any left-handers?
I have a
You're good.
question on that.
All right, you're all set.
I've always played left-handed,
Yeah.
but maybe for a change, like right-handed.
Oh,
Like-
so are you ambidextrous?
No, I only play full left-handed.
Oh, okay, you're one
And
of those.
so I
Okay.
wondered, maybe since I'm learning something new, maybe I could
No,
try
if it
right-handed.
feels better left-handed, continue to play left-handed.
Continue
Because it
left-handed.
would take you, there'd be a longer learning curve to do
Okay.
the awkward bit.
Okay.
Are you left or right-eyed on that, you know?
I have no idea.
I
We'll find out.
I don't want to get into that as a group because we can get into that individually. But eye dominance is a factor, but I don't want to go there. It can get too confusing. All right, this next drill number 3, I call it the Bradley drill because he invented it. It's pretty. Actually, Mark Wilson invented half of it. Bradley invented the other half. But we're going to throw a wrench into the workings this time. And we want to make sure your cue is going straight through the cue ball. So we're going to put a little popsicle stick and 2 intervening balls. And after you've done like the second drill, and you feel comfortable with that, then you can try this one. When you start this drill, I encourage you to leave the cue ball off there. Just practice stroking through. Imagine there's a cue ball on the spot. But again, this is a really good drill to make sure your cue stick is going straight through. And see, that's what you want to avoid. You don't want to hit the popsicle stick because the cue should accelerate through about this distance without going to the right or the left or jumping in the air. One of the things that, and this will surprise you, a lot of people actually, their cues on every shot come up to the light. I'm serious. That can happen because we're so anxious to see where the ball's going that we jump up and want to. And this is a beginning class, so I expect everybody to make every imaginable mistake, so don't feel bad about anything. We're here to improve your game. Okay? But once you have done this for a while, just practice like that. Then put the cue ball in. And then repeat the same thing we've already learned. Aim point, target line all the way back. Chin cue. Left foot forward, swing down. Nice warm-up strokes. Stay down to either ball at the back of the pocket. Now this last one you're going to find very difficult. That's not as easy as I made it look. It's easy to go one way or the other and that kind of thing. But it'll put you on the right track to help you, get a stroke that accelerates straight through the cue. Some people use bottles, like Coke bottles and things like that. The one thing you want to guard against on this is you don't want to guide the cue. That's one thing we're going to learn next week. You don't try to steer it or guide it. You want the cue to accelerate naturally with a nice loose grip. With your arm hanging straight down with a nice gentle swing back, and let the momentum of the stroke swing it all the way through. That's why it looks so effortless, because you're not grabbing on tight. You're not using muscle to hit it. You're letting the cue stick do the work. Swing back, release. Swing back, release. Now, when you use muscle, and these muscles up in your shoulder, you're going to notice the cue is going to naturally pop up in the air, because you're sawing back and forth with the tight grip. The looser your grip can be, you'll notice that you can keep the cue stick relatively level again. Okay, we got to cover bridges, I'm sure, and feel free to get up here and play with your own, try bridging and cue and all that. Okay, on typical shots where the cue ball is out in the center of the table, we have two basic kinds of bridges, and they're both perfectly acceptable. Okay? We have what's called a closed bridge and an open bridge. I'll do the open bridge first. Practice all my fundamentals, swing down. And you'll notice the open bridge is simply the cue rests between the first knuckle and the thumb like this. But the main thing is that the meat of the hand is stabilized on the table, so it doesn't move. Okay? A lot of times you'll see people like this and they're wobbling like that. You want to make sure this meat of your hand down here is stabilized on the table, and then you can spread your fingers out. And one of the things you need to learn with this bridge is how to make the bridge come higher, like this, or lower. Because next week we're going to learn how to hit the cue ball low and hit it high, and make the cue ball roll forward and also come backwards. But again, snooker players in England who are the best cueists on the planet believe that the open bridge is better because you can see better. When you put a finger over the top with a closed bridge, it obstructs your vision. Personally, I use both bridges. It depends on what shot I do. The closed bridge is exactly the same, except you'll notice that my forefinger connects with my thumb like this. And this is a really good bridge too, but you can see my fingers a little bit in the way. But this bridge is especially effective when you hit the cue ball low, because it keeps the cue from coming up in the air. But both bridges are perfectly acceptable. Richie and Brad and I will help you with that. Okay, what happens when the ball is near the rail? This is really important because whenever the cue ball is near the rail, it makes the shot a lot harder, doesn't it? And a lot of you that play know that. Now, let's say that I'm shooting a 12 in the side pocket. Everything would be the same. There's the center of the pocket. There's my contact point. You make a straight in shot. There's my aim point. I draw the line all the way back. Swing down. Now, the problem that most people have is they want to elevate the cue when the cue ball's in the rail. Never, ever do that. Because then, guess what? I can't see where I'm hitting it. My head's up here. It's very hard to tell to aim the shot. And also, if your cue is elevated and you hit a little to the left or to the right, the cue ball will masse one way or the other and you'll miss that. So you want to keep the cue as relatively level as you can. So a bridge that works real good on this shot is simply to use the contour of the rail. And I'll just set the cue right between my thumb and first knuckle like this. And take my warm-up strokes. And stay down and walk to the back. That's one way. Another way, and this is the way a lot of pros do it, they put their thumb and their middle finger, go ahead and try it. Your thumb and middle finger together, like that. They'll lay the cue right on the rail like this, and they'll use the thumb and the middle finger as a guide and put the top finger over the top like this. And again, this is a good one if you're hitting the ball hard. That's something you can practice and learn more about as you play. Another real interesting bridge, and this, you know, Richie can vouch for this, it's probably one of the hardest shots in the pool. I wish I had $1 for every time I missed this shot. You know, let's say I'm playing 8-ball and I'm trying to win the game, and my cue ball rolls right by the object ball.
I hate that.
I hate that shot.
Everybody
Richie,
hates that shot.
Richie, how many times have you missed that shot? All right. There are some hints that I can give you on this to help. And again, you do everything the same. There's the pocket, there's the object ball, and the contact right there. We'll go over the aiming on that a little bit. But once I find my aim point, which is right here, I draw the line all the way back as usual. But one thing I do a little different on this shot is I'll start like if the 14's not there. In other words, I'll get everything lined up as though the 14 is not even there. And then at the very last second, then I'll lift up. And you'll notice I'm using all 4 fingers and my thumb. And again, warm-up strokes are really key in this shot.
What about if you have a closed bridge, what do I do?
Well, you could not use a closed bridge.
I can't. I kind of
Impossible.
modified. I've got a new stroke.
You've got to use the open bridge, and it's hard, you know, with small hands especially, that this is a hard shot.
Yes.
Yeah, see, Diane would have a really hard time getting up. Yeah. But, you know, that's something, you know, and again, when Richie and Brad and I are coming around, anything like that, ask us. We'd be more than happy to help you with anything. Any questions so far? All right, one last thing I want to do, and I have these little markers here, and you can simply use the spot if you like. And that's how to aim a cut shot. So far, we've talked about hitting balls straight in. All right. Now, the first shot here is a 3/4 ball hit, and this is a half ball hit. That just means 3/4 of the cue ball covers 3/4 of the object ball. This one, a half ball, like that. But it's really confusing, and I know this is probably one of the hardest things to teach, is how to aim a cut shot. And you'll probably, if you got on YouTube, you'd probably find 500 different ways to do it. But I think some people think a little too much about this. It's a little simpler than I think a lot of people make it. The first thing I'll do on a cut shot is just see the center of the pocket. Remember, keep in mind, you know, the middle of the outer jaw. Stand behind it. There's where the cue ball needs to contact the 14. But watch what happens if I shoot at that contact point. It missed, didn't it? In other words, you don't really aim at the contact point. Where do you aim? Did you notice it missed over here? I hit the object ball too thick. Instead of aiming at the contact point, you aim, and there's several ways you can explain this, you aim at the center of the ghost ball. It's one way. In other words, if I put a ghost ball in front of the 14 and just aim at the imaginary center of it, I'd be aiming 1.125 behind the contact point. And that's really important because otherwise you're never going to cut it enough. So really my aim point is right here.
And that's because of the size of the ball.
Yeah, yeah. And the balls are round also, but if I hit where I saw the contact point, it would never be enough cut. So I'm actually aiming to the very center here.
When you line up that ghost ball
Yeah,
visually,
yeah.
do you line it up to where both those balls are aimed at that pocket? In
Yeah,
a straight line?
exactly. Just imagine your ghost ball lined up to the center of the pocket right here.
Do you always use a ghost ball in this kind of stuff?
Oh, no, I'm just doing this as to demonstrate only.
I know, but I mean, is that what you're looking for? Is that ghost ball?
It's one way. It's one way.
Your brain will get used to
Yeah.
how it aims when it's looking at the ball. And if you use that in the beginning and get used to how it looks,
Exactly.
your brain will get used to that, and then it'll see that as an aiming thing when it gets used to that.
To be honest, I don't think about any of that anymore. I've played so long that it's purely automatic. And I call it automatic aiming. I know exactly where to aim because I've played for so long. But for somebody beginning, I want to give you, kind of emphasize that if you imagine a ghost ball there and you shoot at the center of it, and it's lined up to the pocket, it should go directly in the middle of the pocket. Another way to do it, and this is the way, when I do want to aim something really precisely, I just look at the half ball behind it, where it needs to contact, right there. And you can even put your cue there and then bring it back. This is your aim point. Draw the target line back, chin, cue, foot, swing down, take some nice warm-up strokes. Stay down through here, back in the pocket. And again, that's another drill that you can work on today if you have time. Okay? But aiming a cut shot is something that's a work in progress. Because I'm sure you'll find that very challenging.
Could you do the other ball too, from the other position?
Sure, sure.
The half ball?
Yeah. Now, the neat thing about this, Jan, is that guess what? The aim point from here or here is exactly the same. The contact point is the same. You aim a half ball behind the contact. So actually, that's my point of aim. I draw my target line back. See it? This time I'm going to use a rail bridge. Swing down. I didn't like that. I was a little off. Let me find it again. Swing down. Nice warm-up strokes. Stay down through the ball back to the pocket. But today, I really want you to emphasize hitting the ball where you're aiming, those first